so we are going to jump back into our photosynthesis unit and start with the live video. Now that we're completely done with the animation, we worked all the way through, we finished the quiz, and now we're going to move on to the live video. There actually wasn't a live video last week, but Musamak just added it, and it's really great. So this live video, there is a little scandal happening. So it starts with this story, and this is actually a real story. In the summer of 2017, Adam Harvey, a chef known for his appearance in the television show Top Chef, purchased a home in Brooklyn, New York. He decided to install solar panels on the roof of his house so that these panels would turn energy from the sun into usable energy in his home, just like the solar panels that we have in the parking lot of car. But after the installation, he realized that his neighbor's 7-story maple tree was blocking the sun from reaching his solar panels. He asked the neighbor to cut the tree down, but she declined. The tree had been in her yard for over 60 years and had become a staple in the neighborhood. Several months later, a neighbor looked out the window to find the chef drilling holes into the tree trunk and filling those holes with a mysterious liquid. Was the chef trying to kill the tree? If so, how? So here's a story that Inside Edition reports.
You may recognize him from his days competing on Top Chef, but these days Adam Harvey is being accused of trying to kill his neighbor's 60-year-old tree. Why? Because it was keeping sun from hitting the solar panels on the roof of his Brooklyn home. A neighbor shot this video that allegedly shows Harvey drilling holes into the tree. The neighbor later recorded Harvey allegedly pouring weed killer into the tree. So you can actually see the holes drilled into the 60-year-old maple tree. Look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes just on this section of the tree alone. What has been the reaction from the neighbors?
The neighbors have been really upset. The irony of it, that he would build solar panels and have to poison a tree to get to his solar panels, is ridiculous.
And get this, Harvey allegedly sent a tree cutting crew to get rid of the tree weeks before the alleged poisoning. But neighbors acted quickly and called police, who stopped the crew from continuing.
It's pretty concerning that that's going to be our neighbor, someone who goes onto other people's property and kills their trees.
Harvey issued this statement to Inside Edition. Recent events caused unnecessary grief to my neighbors and family. My goal is to reach a quick resolution, and I pledge to be a thoughtful and considerate neighbor moving forward. Experts say it will take several months before they know if the tree will survive the poisoning.
All right, so that is just so annoying to me. He is the one that put his solar panels up in the wrong spot, and just because he got them installed in the wrong spot means that the neighbor has to cut down such a beautiful tree. I don't like that. That's like someone who thinks the world revolves around them, and no, it obviously doesn't. So you guys are going to tell me a little bit about what you guys think about this. So in step 1, you're going to scroll down and there are 2 questions right there. The first question is, what does the chef in the video appear to be doing? Record your observations. So tell me, what is the chef doing exactly? What did you witness the chef doing? Exactly how it sees it, exactly how it appears in the video. Tell me what you saw. And question 2. So after you seeing this video, you should be wondering all of these different thoughts. What are some questions that you have about this video? Think about questions that make you wonder what the chef was doing, or questions about how the tree grows. What type of questions do you have after seeing this video? All right, once you guys are done, make sure you hit submit, and we're gonna move on to step 2. Now it's time for the court date. Yes, they took this entire issue to the courts. So your job right now is you are a forensic botanist, and you're gonna help the lawyers that are helping the neighbor figure out if the defendant, the chef, is guilty of trying to kill the beloved maple tree. In order to be a thorough forensic botanist, though, you need to know a little bit more about trees and how they work. So in order to solve the mystery, you are going to construct 2 parts to your argument. You are going to investigate first how trees make their energy and what would happen if that process all of a sudden was stopped. And the second thing you're going to look at is how food and liquid travels throughout a tree. So before we start, I am going to show you this amazing video that I absolutely love that wraps up photosynthesis in 3 minutes. And after those 3 minutes, you are going to be pros at what photosynthesis is. So let's take a look. All right, now that you guys had that video, this part is going to be super easy because it's just going to be a review about what is going on in photosynthesis. So, about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process produced by plants and other organisms. In photosynthesis, plants convert light energy into simple sugars that the plants then use as food for themselves. It is a chemical reaction that takes place in the chloroplast of the leaf. So the chloroplast is where everything happens. So chloroplasts, you can see, are right there on the leaves. The water gets absorbed through the roots. The water then once it's absorbed through the roots, it travels all the way through to the leaves. So it's kind of like a little freeway in there. So once the roots absorb the water, they enter the freeway and the water gets sucked all the way up and it goes right into the leaves. There, at the leaves, carbon dioxide is also absorbed, which is regularly in the air, and sunlight hits those leaves. So when all 3 of those meet in the chloroplast, that's when photosynthesis happens. So here is the real formula for what happens in photosynthesis. So here we have our carbon dioxide represented by CO2. We actually use, or not we, rather the plants take in 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and then 6 molecules of H2O. So when 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water meet in the chloroplast, as soon as the light hits them, the light causes a reaction that breaks up all of these bonds between the carbons and the oxygens and the hydrogens and the oxygens, and it rearranges them. So it rearranges them in this order. So it rearranges them into glucose, and then it also releases some oxygen. So if you guys actually count, if you count all of the carbons, all of the oxygens, and all of the hydrogens used, these numbers equal the same numbers over here. Like you could see right here, there is 6 carbons. Those 6 carbons are represented right here. So the numbers are actually equal. That's what we call a balanced reaction. Okay. But all you need to know is that in photosynthesis, 1 molecule of sugar, specifically glucose, C6H12O6, is released plants get to use their glucose up for themselves to grow. And then 6 molecules of oxygen are released in the air. Then we totally benefit off of that because that's what we breathe in. All right, let's move down to our next question. So here we have a diagram. In this diagram, I want you to label 3 parts, the 3 main components that are needed for photosynthesis to occur is sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. So I want you guys to label in their respective boxes where each of them is absorbed. So I want you to label where sunlight is absorbed, where carbon dioxide is absorbed, and where water is absorbed. So go ahead and label those right now. All right, so now after you finalizing your diagram, you feel confident that you understand how a tree makes energy when working correctly. So you know exactly how a tree basically makes its own food in order to grow and survive and thrive. Now, you discover that mysterious liquid was actually herbicide. Just like they mentioned in the news broadcast, that liquid was actually weed killer. Herbicide actually works by preventing carbon dioxide from being used by the tree. So if a plant absorbs herbicide, it literally blocks the carbon dioxide from getting in. Now it's time to figure out how herbicide could possibly work in killing this tree. So that's what we are going to investigate in part 2, step 3. Okay, so how could this herbicide travel through the tree? In addition to proving the herbicide prevented photosynthesis from occurring, you need to prove whether pouring herbicide into just a couple of holes in the tree could actually kill the tree and not just damage the areas around the holes. So right now, I'm going to show you guys this video, and this video is basically a simulation of how herbicide works. So we are going to use celery in place of a tree, and then the herbicide is going to be represented by blue food coloring. So we are going to figure out and see if this blue food coloring can actually travel through a tree. All right, did you guys see that? Did you guys see what it did to the leaves at the top of the celery stick? Look at the difference. And then also they cut into the center of the celery sticks, and take a look at what it looks like. Interesting, right? All right, you guys, now it is time for you to answer some questions, just breaking down evidence. Remember, you are a botanist, and your information is going to help the neighbor's lawyers with their case. So whatever you guys provide them is going to help in court. So the first question is, what evidence is there that water moves from the beaker to the leaves of the celery? What did we see after the trial was done that made us believe that there is something in a tree that allows water to move upward? Go ahead and answer that right now. Now for question number 2. How would water travel through the maple tree? What do you know about trees that allows water to be absorbed and then travel up through the tree? Go ahead and answer that right now. All right, and your last question. How would herbicide inserted into the trunk travel to the leaves? Even though he didn't pour the herbicide right onto the roots, he drilled holes and put it directly into the trunk. So how would that allow the herbicide to travel up to the leaves? Go ahead and answer that question right now. All right, you guys, now make sure you hit submit for those 3 questions and we can move on to step 4. In step 4, it is the final day of court and it is now your turn to present all of your findings. So you are going to be putting together all of your evidence to help the jury understand the science behind maple trees. You're just going to use this template down here. It is 3 questions. First is, what do you think? Identify in a full sentence. Is the chef guilty or not guilty? And remember, the charge is whether he was trying to kill the maple tree. So do you think he is guilty that he did attempt to kill the maple tree? Or do you think he is not guilty that he was not trying to kill the maple tree? Go ahead and tell me in one full sentence whether you think the chef is guilty or not guilty. All right, and your second question. Add labels to all parts of diagram and annotate the image to show how the herbicide impacts photosynthesis. So here we have a similar diagram to part 1. So I want you guys to label the sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. But now I also want you to label where is glucose, where is oxygen being released, and what is that part of the plant cell that is super, super important where photosynthesis occurs? And finally, the bulk of your evidence. Write an explanation of how the herbicide killed the whole tree. Use as many of the vocab words listed above as possible. So tell me, how did the herbicide manage to travel all the way through the trunk up to the leaves? How is that possible? So go ahead and write in about 2 to 4 sentences. Give a full explanation of how herbicide can kill a whole tree like that. All right, once you guys are done, you are ready to submit and you are completely done for the entire lesson. Bye, you guys.